It is early March and spring is definitely springing. I wouldn't say it's sprung just yet, but it's springing. It's well ahead of itself, that's for sure anyway. A lot of hatches going off, bird life, trees are in blossom, all that carry on. It's come real early and the fish bloody know it, that's for sure. I'm over on Stoneacres, Lynchill. I've fished here for many years, Lynchill in particular, but more so Stoneacres in the more recent years. There's still a few fish that I want to tick off the list bad, and I always make a point of doing a few sessions in the spring to come over here and hopefully try and just tick one off the list at a time. It's almost one of them places where I don't want to finish up because it's like a second home to me. So what have I done so far? So I turned up late evening yesterday, took a gamble on what I already knew in a swim called Island Point a bit further down, up real early, 4:30 this morning. Had a walk a bit further down the bank, down the bottom end, didn't hear nothing. There's a bit of pressure up this end. I know it's done a couple of bites in the last couple of weeks out in the middle zone. Didn't feel like I could get anywhere near the fish from over there, but I did see a couple of possibles and one definite out in this water. This is a swim called the Humps. Real long though. I've come round this morning, just pinged the zigs out. I know the depth's pretty much, the water's up a bit. I pinged the zigs out early morning, just on the possibility that something might happen. Nothing's happened now, but I am about to make a bit of disturbance. It's now time to, bring these rods in, get out there in the boat, because I know there's a big bed of milfoil that stays up all year pretty much, and they like to get above that when the sun comes out, which is tomorrow. The sun is out a little bit now, but tomorrow it's going to be a really what I would call stony weather. Stoneacres weather, flat, calm, sunny from early morning, no fog, none of that, and that is real Stoneacres weather. The fish that I have seen definitely a bit further down the pond, I can't get anywhere near them, so I'm preempting on past knowledge that they might back up on this big southerly wind that's about to come in, hopefully, fingers crossed. But I'm going to keep my eyes peeled. This is me sort of spring fishing off the barra, quite literally, and just keeping my eyes peeled and piecing it. And, I don't want to set up camp. I'm going to go out there and sort of see what I see what's going on. But yeah, I'm going to basically go through a few bits of spring fishing, the way I attack the spring, what I do, why I'm doing it, more importantly, and that's what we're going to cover over the next couple of days, really. A lot of people always ask why I do that. Actually, something I picked up off Miles, don't tell him. But yeah, it's cleaning the sediment off your line. Especially in the spring, you can get a hell of a lot of it in blooms. So yeah, just whipping it in and out of the water just cleans it off. Right, let's get the waders on. These trees are a bit low, so I need to wade out a bit. Yeah, as I say, wound them in. Give them a couple of hours this morning, nothing. But yeah, what I want to do is put the marker out, not only for a little bit of a marker to go out in the boat around, so I know where I'm sort of heading, but also I'm going to get the depth because I want a precise depth. So I'm going to go out with zigs pretty much ready, because I'm going to want them top 2 feet really, with the weather that's coming in. Top couple of feet, so I'm going to get the depth. What I'm going to do is measure downwards. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Yeah, I'm going to whip the marker out there, get the depth, and leave it out there. Before I do it, I'm going to get myself all pretty much ready to go. Some zigs tied up, boat ready, life jacket on. Don't want to put the marker for it out there now, get the depth, and then be messing around for half an hour or whatever on the bank. I need to have everything ready to go, so I'm literally get the depth, lead the marker up, get the boat out, take a rod with me, roll one in, come back, carry on, do all 3 rods and back in. Trying to put as little pressure, because the fish are well aware that the boats mean pressure, angling pressure that is, and they don't like them. So the less time I can spend out there in the pond in that boat messing around with markers up in the air and all that carry on, the better. So yeah, got to get myself prepared. 23, 24, 25. Right, change of plan. It's the thing with the spring, things are always changing. Still fishing in this swim, but I'm not going to be using the boat. I've just seen one, still a bit at the back of the water that I want to fish, but me going out in the boat is not going to help things. But definitely still need to get that depth. So it's going to be hopefully one cast, maybe two. There's definitely a couple of areas. The one where, the direction where I sort of see the ones this morning, and where I've just seen that one, so probably two casts. Because thing is, just because I put one cast out and it's say 10 foot, doesn't mean that, you know, 20 foot to the right of it's going to still be 10 foot. It's a gravel pit, it's up and down. So what I've done is I've wrapped up at 25 wraps, because that's around borderline my water and sort of where I feel I want to be, the area where I've seen them couple of fish this morning, etc. And the area that I know them to get around that milfoil area. So yeah, I've wrapped up at 25 wraps. I'm going to cast in two directions, get the average depth, or get the depth, sorry, and then I will clip my rods up at 25 wraps. I want these zigs a foot and a half below the surface. So yeah, the milfoil won't cause me any issues, because that'll probably be 4 or 5 foot off the surface, so it's not going to cause me any issues. I'm happy with that. But yeah, not getting in the boat now, basically. Let's do it. All right, first one. Right, now before I take that out of the clip, I'm just going to make sure that the float's coming up. With this bit of slack. So yeah, I'm just going to let that float pop up to the surface. Come on, where are you? There she is. Boom. I'm going to come in because I need some ground markers to measure downwards. Show you that bit now. Alright, so I'm just going to get the float cocking on its side, which is there now. It's on its side. So the swivel technically is on the surface. And I'm going to put my tip of that root right there. I know where it is. Alright, so it's just about to cock. So the float is on the surface, and I'm going to draw it back. So technically it's going to go all the way down to the lead. Just keep walking back like that. And boom, stops there. So I'll put it down, and then I'll put something in the ground there to reference that. And then literally put that in the ground there. And I've just drawn the depth of the water column on the ground, so I'll put a stick in there with my zig line on, pull it off the spill, and then measure the depth. I'll put them a foot and a half. I can be so accurate. At 25 wraps, cast exactly at the point of that tree, that is the depth. And you can't get any more accurate than that, in my opinion. This can be, you know, the lines sliding through your fingers, you know, you're putting your tip up and down. It's just not as accurate as that. You've drawn it right in front of your eyes. If I want to put a zig 2 inches under the surface, or over the surface if you're doing over depths in the summer, yeah, I can be super accurate and know where I am in the water column. That's it. Centre of that flat. Dink. Oh, lovely little drop. So again, just taking that little bit of slack line there and just making sure that the float's coming up before I take it out of the clip, which it is. Sure we've all been there when the float doesn't want to pop up. So I've put the boom on just to make sure, because it is a bit of fresh weed coming through. There she is, straight where I wanted it, straight in line with that swim, centre of them flat trees. All right, see if the depth's any different. All right. Boom. Oh, it's a foot shower over there. How important is that to know? If I'd have presumed that distance to that direction, if I'd have presumed it was the same, and I was fishing a foot under the surface with that one, this one would have been on the surface. So that's been left under. That's the right hand, that's the middle. All right. All right. Last one. Yeah. Felt a bit deeper, that. Right, so wire down on the root, and back she comes. Pretty much the same as the first one. Couple inches, but there or thereabouts. Right, I'm good, I'm happy. 3 depths, 3 directions, 3 distances. I'm going to go all the way back with red eyeliner. Quite well on black and reds. Hatches aren't going off mad. If they were, I'd go black and black. Whereas now I'm going to use a bit of colour. These are quite nice, little prototype one from TA, little pinks. Yeah, I'm going to go all 3 black and red. Super confident in that. Just wet the old tool up, wet the liner up. I like to put the foam in first, so I'm not messing around once it's on the hook. I can slide the whole lot off. With the foam, the whole lot on, sorry, when the foam's already on. I like to have it so there's a chunkier bit of foam at the top. So this bit, I'll just take my time, just make sure it goes right. Show you what I mean. That's perfect, I reckon. Yeah, so the top piece is just a little bit chunkier than the bottom piece, because the last thing you want is the bottom piece to be chunkier, and then it's going to start to sit like this, or upside down. So yeah, top bit just as it's only fractional, but it's enough to say, yeah, it's going to sit that way up. That's good enough to me. No whiter. A G-lid. Lovely. Right, that's them all out. Yeah, don't have my clutches too tight, so if they do go off, they can take line, so you ditch the lead. But also, I don't tighten this. I do see some people that take all the stretch out the mono, so it's like literally like an elastic band tighten right up. I've learnt an harsh lesson with that, doing that before. If you take all that stretch out of it, as soon as you get a bite, that lad's gonna naturally want to pull towards you and won't want to ditch you off. So yeah, just literally well, that's still nice and it's tight, but not too tight, so the fish can actually ditch the lead. Super sensitive. That one's not working. Something about the spring, man. Honestly, it just gets me super buzzed up. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love all 4 seasons of fishing, but there's something about the spring that is just special, whether it be because the fish are just waking up from that slumber, or, you know, you've just been through a bit of a rough winter. So, you know, it's good that you start to see things that I don't know, or generally it's because you're maybe starting on a new water and it's a new buzz. But whatever it is, the spring is just special. Like, the fish are waking up, the big fish are very catchable. I put 100% effort in all the time, but in the spring, probably more so, because them big fish, the ones that are generally more rarer to hit the bank, I would say, you know, I'd say probably the rarest of fish that I've had has been in the spring. You know, some of my biggest and best fish have all come in the spring, and they're generally, because they let the guard down that little bit, you know, they're hungry, they're just waking up, just getting a little bit of sun on them, they're getting excited for what's to come, and they slip up. I know it, they know it, and there's just something about when you get one of them special ones. The spring, the scenes are beautiful. Like I say, I love all seasons, but the spring is real special. Angling wise, it can be absolutely any method. That's the other thing that's exciting, because I'm a bit erratic, if you like, anyway, so it really suits my style of fishing, but you've got to be prepared for anything. It could be in the edge, on the top even, there'll be a day where all of a sudden, that them fish that were 2 foot down on the zigs, or all of a sudden you're seeing a back out and it's surface, and it can be a split second window, or that day, and if you're not ready for it, then you've missed that opportunity, and it might not come around till, the following year, chod fishing, zig fishing, on your spot general fishing, all that, it's all to play for all different methods. So preparation is definitely key, having everything tied up, ready to go, because like I say, that window of opportunity can just slip away. But probably more so than location, the watercraft, the watching, the looking, the up in the night listening, lapping, not being too quick to act, as in turning up thinking this is where I want to go. I like to have a few sort of preconceived ideas of where I think they might be, but so many times them fish have thrown spanners in the works because there's angling pressure on, or the weather's doing this. They don't follow the rules in the spring. Are they on the wind? Are they off the wind? Are they, nobody knows until you get them eyes and ears on the pond. And it can just be literally one show that can just change the game. It's like my eyes are always on the pond. I know I'm looking at you now, but honestly, they're always on the pond. Even when I'm making a brew, I'm stirring it while I'm looking. I don't want to take my eyes off it. I just know that them signs can be so short-lived. I mean, the winter especially, but the spring, you've just got to be on your toes. I'm quite a mobile angler at any time in the year, but especially in the spring, there's nothing to hold them. You can get rigs on them, get them in the patrol routes, all that sort of thing, and they can quite easily move off. So you've got to be, I hardly really set up base until I really think, right, I'm going to be grounded here, and then next minute to be somewhere else and I'll be on them, because it can just be as quick as that. But yeah, the spring really excites me, and I'm out here doing it once again, and hopefully there's another rare beast to be had this spring as well. Obviously, I've always got my eyes on the pond. I'm always looking at the furthest point that the eye can see. That's a really good thing to remember, that, because if you're just in your little swim and you're just looking at 40, 50 yards because that's your water, then you're going to limit your vision, But like now, I've only got 90 yards in front of me that I can fish, 100 yards most, but I'm still looking at the bottom end of the pond, which is 500-600 yards away at least. I'm focusing my eyes down there and scanning the pond left and right. And the reason I do that is because then anything else in between is going to stand out. Whereas if I focus my eyes here at 50, 60, 70 yards, everything else behind is blurred out. So I'm extending my eyes from one position. That's a really good technique to get used to, I believe. Well, not believe, it's a fact, definitely. If you've not been doing that and you start doing it, you're going to see probably 10 times as much as you have been seeing. So that's one thing that I definitely like to do, but I'm looking for obviously carp showing, I'm looking for fizzing, I'm also listening for them as well. I'm always trying to keep my ears out if I can, because you might hear one in this bay down here, especially in the night. When one sense goes to bed, another one wakes up, you lose your eyes, your ears come to play. Looking at the birds is a great one. I've always said about it, I'm always I've got 2 coots in front of me right now, one here and there's one out there. I know that, I've already counted them, and I know that they're there. Not only so if I see a little ring, I know it's the coot. What I'm doing is I'm always watching, or I have years ago studied the coot's natural behaviours, because I've watched them for hours and hours and hours. So I know their natural behaviour. Same goes for a duck, same goes for a seagull, swan. I know their natural behaviours, how they should be behaving on the pond. And the reason I learnt all that is because then anything unnatural really stands out to me. So if the coot rears up, he spooks off, he makes his alarm, distress call, squawk, I'm not going to give you an impression. But yeah, there's traits that I see these birds do. He stomps his feet, he rears back, all that sort of thing, or he dives down and then comes up and spooks. All them things are 100% signs that there's carp in and around that coop. Coots are probably the best ones to look out for, that I'm always watching their behaviours. That is the amount of times that the birds have found me the fish is probably more than the fish have found me the fish. They give it away, they really do, especially in the spring, because generally they're protecting their young. They're a little bit more, skittish, if you like. So that's another great way of locating the fish. There is loads of ways, fishing tight braided lines through swims, altering your tip angle and stuff like that, so your line's at different heights. There is, honestly, we haven't got enough time to talk about ways of finding fish, but there's a lot. And finding them is definitely one step closer to catching them. Finding them is probably harder than catching them. It's the finding them that really excites me. There's a little bit of a mission on, and that's what I've got to do. I've got to find them before I can even attempt to catch them. So no matter what, catch or not catch, as long as I'm doing all these things that I'm saying I'm doing, I'm watching, I'm looking, I'm listening, all these things, it's all information. And I'm not just using it for right then and there. I'm taking it away with me, whether that be mentally, physically, noting things down. That's what it is. It's a big jigsaw, a big jigsaw coming together. A little bit of information that you learn in the spring might come back into play in the autumn. That's why I like the spring as well, because I'm dancing around. I'm not just dancing around trying to catch fish. Yeah, that's what I'm there to do, but I'm also learning as I go, different ranges and depths and features, and where the weed's coming up, where it's not coming up, the areas that they like to get, the patrol routes, the show times. There's loads of stuff that I'm constantly analysing, if you like, and picking up and making note of these things in the notes on my phone, whether it just be as something as small as a spot or a show, or the location of the show, or the conditions at the time that you had a bite, and why, or the fish. I noticed that the fish moved from this area to that area when the weather conditions changed, or the angling pressure came on and they went to this area. It's all stuff to reference back to, fly hatches, where did they go off? It might help you next spring. There's always information that I'm noting and logging down, because and then you're not leaving empty-handed. You're not, I'm always trying to be as positive as I can, to try and turn negatives into positives. Like, not seeing fish is a positive. I can spend hours and hours looking at a certain piece of water in a bay, and the fact that I've not seen something, I don't walk around like, oh, well, that was a waste of time. I'm not doing that again. I'm like, right, they're definitely not in this bay. I haven't seen any of these birds moving. I haven't seen any fizzing. I haven't seen a show. I haven't heard anything. Nothing's happening. So that's a process of elimination. Like that, I can write that area off. They're not there. They're not here. Like, they could be there and they might be there, because I haven't been looking at that area. So it gives me. There's just, honestly, there is so much information, but it's all out there. You're not gonna learn your lake unless you're looking out there. You can watch as many films as you want, unless you're there in the moment, taking away your own information. I don't know how I bang on about it all the time, but all the answers are right there in front of you. And it's just learning how to process them and turn them into bites. And it's just more exciting for me. I'd much rather turn up to a pond, fish it hard all year, building my own picture, my own plans, and get one bite off the back of it, off my own merit, that one special fish, and you're like, wow, look at that, I earned that. Then turn up to a lake, mate, he's had 5. Oh, I'll drop in here behind you. How many wraps are you, mate? Anyone can do that, let's have it right. Yes, you caught it, you applied it. Some lakes are like that. You have to do that. It's one in, one out. I get that. But for me, if I could catch one fish on the back of something that I learned, and I put a plan together, and I knew they were going to get there ahead of the fish, and they turn up and I get that bite, that one capture is better than 1,000 captures, off the back of someone else, or, this is the most popular swim, the spot 17 wraps, and they love the krill, Yeah, all right, it's a capture, but did you really earn it? That's what I like to do, put all my own effort, my own, just drive everything at catching a fish myself, and then when I get it, wow, that buzz is just so much better. The day's starting to drag out now. It's about probably 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I've barely taken my eyes off this water, and I haven't seen anything to go on. It's quite easy to make you think, oh, bloody hell, have I made the right move? But I'm looking at a different bit of water than I was looking at yesterday evening. I've got eyes and ears down here, but more importantly, I've gone on what I've seen this morning. You know, it doesn't mean the fish aren't here now because they're not showing. Them windows are so short-lived. You know, I saw a definite tail, and then a possible, little bit of bird action. There was enough to say it's better down here than it is down there. But I'll be up tonight, definitely setting an alarm, midnight. You know, I'll get my head down probably about 9, 10 o'clock, set an alarm for midnight. I'll be up till 2, you know, walk around this corner, not too far, but somewhere just so I can hear different areas, listening out for birds going off. You know, I think we've probably all heard that, haven't we? You know, a fish booms out and you hear the birds. You might not hear the low, sort of soft sound of a carp, doo-doo-doosh, you know, whereas you will hear the high pitch. Yeah, so I'm up, walking, listening. I'll be up at first light, and if there's somewhere else, I'll be on the move. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just going to chill tonight, get a bit of food in, and see what the night brings. But it's just early March now, so there's not loads going on, but I'm here. There's always a chance, you just never know, and that's what keeps me driving and burning myself out, because I just know, I don't know what it is about, you know, it could just be one show in the night when I'm asleep, you know, and I don't want to miss it. So yeah, when I get home, I'm going to be absolutely beat up, and I know when I've worked my arse off, because I'll get home and I'll get on that sofa after I've had a shower. I'll just go, boom, been working. What's that? But yeah, tomorrow gonna I'll be up first light, obviously watching, and I'm gonna prep a load of stuff. You know, get some rigs tied up. I've got a couple of noodles and that prepped, and a few zigs, but there's bits missing out me stuff. And I said, you know, about preparation, being ready for anything. So I'm gonna tie a few choddies up and that sort of thing. Getting my spring gear ready, already packed. There's nothing better sometimes than just opening your rig box and there's 10 in there. You know, there's nothing worse than opening it. It's like, oh, I've got to tie rigs, you know. So preparation is really good in the spring, because it can just pass in the blink of an eye. Before you know it, the water will be 18 degrees and they'll be spawning. Well then, as predicted, or as I thought, nothing's happened last night. So like I said yesterday, these rigs and rods are in position ready for today's weather, and also in the hope that they're gonna move. I mean, obviously if I would have got a bite last night, I'd have took it, wouldn't have shook it off. But yeah, looking at the weather from yesterday, well, for today, when I looked yesterday, this is why I made this move, hopefully ahead of the fish. If they were to move, they're in a certain area, still there this morning, seen a few just touching up to the surface. They're not jumping right out, they're right up on the top. So I'm happy with the depths, 1 foot and 2 foot down. Just need this weather to bring them over. Got a little bit of sun poking through, burning this cloud off in a bit, and a northwesterly wind, which kicks right in here. If that ain't gonna move them, with the adage of a bit of angling pressure moving around over there today, you know, people putting rods out amongst, no doubt, where the fish are, that doesn't move them, nothing will, and I'll probably call it a day, because I've probably got to go today anyway. But I'm definitely going to be holding it out to see if they move, that's for sure. And if they move, I'll pull out all the stops. Come on, the carps. So I'm just going to do a shake off. This is something that I do 3, 4, 5 times a day, depending on the sediment really. It's to shake off the sediment off the line. It's something that I do in all my fishing, not just zig fishing. If I'm fishing a tight line or tightish line through the water column, if I'm fishing, you know, fluoro or sinking braid and I've got it super slack and it's over the weed, I'm not too bothered about it. But when I'm fishing tight lines through swims, this is something that I like to do, because this will be shaking the sediment off the line. But more importantly, what a lot of people don't realise, or what you might not realise, is you're actually shaking the zig in this instance anyway, because you've got to imagine you've got your lead and your lead clip and you're bypassing, you're actually directly tied. I know it goes through a swivel and a lead clip, but you're directly tied through to your hook link. So your lead is a pivot point. So if these lines are quite slack anyway, like I said yesterday about not having them too tight and bowstring, so that is 100% moving that zig out there, shaking off the sediment off the line. But the other thing is, which something that I came across almost by accident, is you're actually you're actually shaking off the air bubbles that have collected more so around the foam. So the foam will collect air bubbles around it and make it stand out. Now, I'm not really saying that is a negative thing, but it's definitely making it stand out more. And I came across that when we were doing the shows and tank testing, different foams and stuff like that. No matter what foam it is, it collects the air bubbles out of the water. And I noticed that on the second day, I'd left the foam in the tank test, gone in the next day, and there's all little oxygen particles all gathered around the foam, and they stood out like a sore thumb. Like I said, I don't know if that's a negative, but it definitely makes it stand out. So for me, what I'm looking fresh, like they've just gone out there. And I'd say lastly, it wakes the zig up a bit, you know, gets it moving, you're trying to mimic something that is moving, a fly hatch. So yeah, it's just something that I do, you know a lot of people probably, I mean, you might even be able to relate yourself to times when you've just rechucked a zig or just put it out and you get a bite. And I always think that's because it's fresh, it's gone out there. If you're putting scents on there, it's got the scent still on there, but more importantly, it's probably still moving and it's not got any air bubbles collected, it's not got any sediment up the line. And I think that this does it. And like I say, it's 100% fact that it does it. I've been out there in the boat and got someone to shake them off in the margin after on the bank, and watched them actually. It just goes poof. It's tiny little bit of movement, but it's enough to get rid of that sediment. So yeah, little edgy tip there. Shake it off, shake it off. Bit of Taylor Swift. When it comes to fishing on the bottom in the spring, I mean, I'm zigging now, and zig fishing is zig fishing. You can pretty much chuck a zig anywhere in the spring. The weed's not right up, going to cause you any issues. But when it comes to bottom fishing, I only have 3 different presentations. That's the chod fishing, hinges, and noodle. With the chod, that's more of a see fish showing, don't really know the swim, don't know the area, don't know if there's a spot there or not. Don't want to take a gamble chucking something that could potentially end up snarled up in the weed. Nice choddy, chuck it out. I've always got chod sections tied up. These obviously double up as a chod rig to be running up your line, or the hinge section of a hinge rig. So they're open-ended. I haven't got any heights tied. I haven't got the swivels tied off or anything. I tie the swivels on the boom, so we can adjust heights to suit. I haven't got any up baits on them or anything like that. Just ready to go, ready for an up bait. Got the little hook swivel on there, ready to go. So chod fishing is chucking anywhere sort of method, quick, responsive, generally bright hook bait, single hook bait, not really baiting up around that. It's, trying to entice them into just snaffling some off the top of the weed, etc. I remember I actually had a real nice fish out of this lake called the Bus on a single choddy, just lay over and load the weed. I've had quite a lot of it. It seems to be quite instant bite reaction type fishing, whereas with the hinge and the noodle, they're the sort of rigs that I'm putting on a spot, whether it's a spot that I found there and then or a spot that I know to be there already from my notes. Hinge-wise, I generally find myself using more hinges in the spring and in the autumn. This isn't down to anything else other than what the fish have been up to, leaf fall, etc. And what I mean by that is generally you've got a lot of fresh weed coming around in the spring, or all the weeds died on the spots and the fish haven't been feeding hard and clearing them off. The thing is, with leading up, you might feel a little tap, tap, tap or smooth, but you're never gonna really feel a tiny strand of weed or a leaf or something like that. So generally in the spring, rather than taking a gamble, I will always just pop it up just to be sure that it sits down beautifully and just rests on top of anything there. Then as the year starts to go on, I can feel the spots getting harder and smoother, I can physically see it. That's when I'm getting the noodles out, because that sits flat on the bottom with a balance bait and it's matching everything that I'm putting out there freebie wise. So basically what I'm saying is, I only use pop-ups for one reason, because the bottom is telling me to, or I don't know 100% that it's clean down there. So when it's a pop-up, to know that that hook is still up and fishing. Otherwise, if I know it's clear, I'm getting it down, because I don't want it standing out prominent. You know, I don't believe that. I'm not saying you won't catch big and rare and wary fish on pop-ups, you will. But I believe, you know, in my mind, from what I've seen physically watching fish from trees, etc., you know, especially once they've woken up in the later months in the summer, they maybe had a lot of pressure, they've been caught a couple of times, then pop-ups are a bit too blatant and they'll come in, they'll eat all the freebies and leave the pop-up. So for me, as soon as that spot I know I can fish it on the deck, I want my hook bait matching all my freebies, and that's when I can get them, you know, them rarer ones to hopefully trip up. I've learned a hell of a lot from watching fish's behaviour, you know, from the trees, watching them in the edge, and also using the boat on Stone Acres. I've done a lot of boat fishing, learnt a lot about spots and where to put rigs on spots, etc. I don't believe that straight in the middle of a spot is the place to be. It's all about the edges of the spot. That's what I call the spot within the spot. And when I'm doing my leading and I do find a spot, if you haven't got the, you know, the edge of being able to use a boat, you know, if I'm boat fishing, I'll drop it on the edge, you know, I'll stash the lead in the soft silt or into the weed, and the hook bait just kicks onto the spot. Everything's hidden. And the reason I say it as well, I never see a fish come into a spot and just start ripping right in the middle. That's almost the dead part of the spot, if you like. Spots get bigger because they eat off the side. That's where the natural food is gathering. You know, generally any bait that's been on there has been pushed to the sides. They get bigger because they're being ate off the side. So that is why I do it, firstly, but also, yeah, you can hide things a lot better. If you're right in the middle of a big blatant spot, everything's standing out like a sore thumb. But yeah, just going back to the leading side of things, if you haven't got the beauty of being able to use the boat, then what I do is I'll lead up, I'll pull until I feel that stop, you know, and I'll pull until I feel the stop. So generally it's the edges and the front side I like to fish. Sometimes the back if I have to, if I feel like, you know, it's a big spot and the fish are at the back of it, I will push to the back of it. But generally front side, two edges, you know, I'll keep casting right until it goes soft a bit and then go just back to the hard stuff, and I know I'm sort of towards the sides, but the front side is, you know, if you've got a big long spot and you can get to the front of it, you know, and I tell you, the leading is really accurate. It's not just because your middle rod is 20 wraps, the left and the right is 20 wraps, because obviously that could be round, it could be a misshapen, you know, these, you know, this is another thing coming from the boat side of things. Every spot isn't straight or round, you know, they go off at all different mad channels and tunnels and all sorts of things. So, you know, I might be fishing 3 rods on the same spot, but one might be 20 wraps 2 foot, one's bang on 20, and one's 20 wraps 6 foot, because I'm trying to find them edges. I know that's real in depth, real detail, but these are the things that I'm doing, you know, that I believe are the things that buy me them extra bites, and sometimes them a lot sort of rare and more curious fish that don't just go straight into the middle, pounding all the bait. They sort of eating off the sides of it, wanting the natural food, etc., etc.